What's up, guys? Ben here, bringing you another video today. It is time. Champs is coming up here shortly. I think I'm recording this on Monday morning. I think this video is going to come up on Wednesday. We got Champs 10 in a day. Let's talk about it. Dallas, Texas. Well, technically Allen, Texas. At the end of the season, we have all top 4 teams win the first 4 events of the season. Which one of those teams are maybe a dark horse will go ahead and win the whole thing, the big prize at the end of the season? I'm going to give you my predictions. Let's dive in. All right, let's dive in. We're going to start with the first match of the day. Bottom side of the bottom side of the top side of winners bracket. New York Subliners, Seattle Search. It says at 3:45 East Coast time. I'm pretty sure it's at 3 o'clock East Coast time. So to Central. This should be a fun one. New York obviously coming up, winning your Major 4 event over FaZe, and Seattle got another top 6 they were able to qualify for. Champs. I'm a little concerned about Seattle's path to upset in this one because New York's been a really good respawn team. They're on 10 win streak in hardpoint right now. Their search has been pretty solid. Seattle maybe's got some opportunity in control, but I think that's basically it. I might take Seattle, giving them a map, maybe a first map or map 3. But I think I got New York taking this one. It doesn't really go to game 5. And then next up, we have FaZe versus the Miami Heretics. Miami doing just enough to get in that last spot for Champs, and FaZe doing everything right, but once again coming up short in grand finals. And kind of as always with FaZe, I just don't really see how Miami is going to have a path in this series. I'm going to say a FaZe 3-0. They've been very clinical against Miami in the past this season, just like New York has against Seattle. And maybe Miami steal a map, but I think realistically FaZe are going to get it done quick, and we're going to get that rematch we like. My Major 4 rematch. The teams have played a lot this year. FaZe versus New York on Friday night. All right, bottom side of winners, we got Toronto versus LA Thieves as your third matchup of the day. Toronto has beaten Thieves in all 3 matches they've had this season, and the only way that Thieves have actually taken a map in those series is by winning the searches, and I really just don't see how it's going to swing in a way where Thieves can take hard points off of Toronto. Controls at Thieves are not that good at. I think it's a 3-1 for Toronto, to be honest. I just don't see the game 5 potential there. And then we get to the last matchup, Optic versus LAG. LAG have had some good run in here. Obviously, we talked a lot about the Major 4 kind of performance they had, getting 3rd at that event. Optic obviously had a very rough Major 4 split and got dead last at the tournament. So a bit of the biggest unknown of this tournament about like Optic, like are they going to be good? Are they going to be bad? Like who knows? I really think that of the 4 matchups, this is the one where there's the most possibility of upset. And if we assume that Optic is improved from Major 4, but still playing at maybe their Major 3 level, it feels like a game 5 to me in which Optic will just peek through. It doesn't mean that they're going to struggle the rest of the tournament. We saw that FaZe during their win at Major 2. They went to a couple of gritty game 5s on their way to a pretty solid win at the end of the tournament. But I could see LAG really challenging Optic in this series and coming up just short. I think this is the biggest chance of an upset of the 4 matchups. And because we need to generate the rest of the loser bracket, I'm going to also then do these winners round 2 matchups here. So FaZe versus the New York Subliners. It's been a fun series. They played 7 times this season. 7 times is crazy. And New York is 2-5 against FaZe, the 2 wins being one online, I believe, during the Major 2 qualifiers. They took a game 5, and then the win that they had against FaZe in grand finals of the last event. Now, the way this series has traditionally gone with these 2 teams, control has been a bit of a toss-up. The hardpoints have generally favored FaZe, and S&Ds have heavily favored FaZe. And I think we're going to get a classic. To me, on paper, this feels like a series that could go to distance. And I think I have to take FaZe in a game 5 in that situation. These teams have just battled and battled and battled. And part of me thinks that with New York's current form, FaZe always prepared for Champs, that we're going to have a classic on our hands, that FaZe will just squeak on like a invasion search or something crazy like that. All right, next up, we have Optic versus Toronto, so the bottom side of winners bracket. And these guys have played quite a few times this season. I'll tell you the exact record right now. Optic is 3-2 against Toronto. They both have beaten each other on land. They both have lost to each other on land. And this series has been really close. Historically, this season, 5-4 advantage to Optic in the hard points, 4-2 advantage for Optic in the searches, but a 2-3 advantage for Toronto in controls. So a bit of an interesting fact there. Oh, man. I think for me, this really comes down to what does Optic want to do about Toronto's strength on Karachi? And I just don't see, unless Optic is taking leaps and bounds from where they're at for Major 4, especially in Karachi S&D, them winning a game 5 against Toronto. So I'm going to go with the 3-2 Toronto. But I think just like with FaZe New York, this one's a really close one and depends a lot on the form of these teams. The interesting part about Champs is that normally these would be a Saturday night matchup, but with the way that Champs is, because we only have 8 teams, you know, these teams are going to play right away the next day and they don't get that like extra day of warm up to work on their little things. So I think both these winners matches are going to be absolute classics. I would hope they don't disappoint. All right, let's go on through to losers bracket here, and we'll get all the way up to Saturday-ish night. So first off, we got Miami Heretics versus the Seattle Surge. This is another, I really like with this top 8 that there's a lot of really good matchups here that are pretty even. Miami and Seattle played a couple of times this year. I believe Miami is 3-2 against them, and the last time they played was online during the Major 4 qualifiers. Miami won that one 3-2. They played during the Major 3 qualifiers, and Miami won that one 3-2. And then they played had the Major 1 qualifiers, and Seattle won that 3-2. So all 3 matchups with these teams have gone to Game 5. And right now, for me, if we're gonna go and we're gonna assume there's a Game 5, then I'm gonna go with the team that I think has been a little bit better in S&D, which is going to be the Miami Heretics. But this is a real gritty series. I think both teams have a lot of vulnerabilities. And so they come down to who plays the best on that first match on Friday. I think we have a chance for a real banger in the losers bracket here. And I'm just going to pick Miami because I trust them more in search right now than I do Seattle. And then Thieves versus LAG. And man, this is like historically the worst matchup for Thieves of all time. I don't know what it is with these franchises, but Thieves 2-4 against LAG. And the historical numbers are also pretty bad if we go deep into that. So Thieves were able to actually like get wins off the board against LAG this season. But the last time they played was at the Major and LAG 3-0'd them. And I'm gonna be honest with you, like I just think with the way that LAG prep for these events, the fact that they're usually a solid top 6 option, I just think that Thieves are destined to get kind of dead last of this tournament. I just don't think Thieves have that dog in them. I'm going to give them a map, but I can realistically also see them getting 3-0 again by LAG. That happened in winners bracket the last event. I mean, Thieves did beat them in 5 games online, but again, we know LAG Thieves. LAG, especially online, is different than LAG on LAN. I think LAG on LAN is going to be a little bit more disciplined. All right, we'll finish up the losers bracket here. So we got Optic playing in the middle of the day. Actually, let's start with the first match on Saturday, New York versus LAG. And New York has not lost to LAG this season. And to be honest, they haven't lost a search. They've only lost 1 hard point and 1 control in the 3 series. I think this is where the LAG run ends. I think it's going to be a quick 3-0 for New York, who will be feeling like they got to get the run going again. These guys have done the losers bracket run this year, and I think they'll make quick work of LAG, unfortunately. And not a bad top 6 placing for LAG at the end of the year. I think you can hold your hats up high on that. Is there some upset potential? LAG is going to have to be lights out in S&D, and I just don't really see it in this matchup. Now, last step we have in the loser bracket here before we get to losers semis, Optic versus Miami. Now, this has been a really fun matchup throughout the year. Miami 3-0'd Optic, and then Optic took that personally. And if you have watched these matchups this year, AG was definitely popping off in all of those 3 straight wins, I believe, against Miami. But then they faced off at the Major, and Miami beat them in a Game 5 in loser bracket. So Miami has a little bit of the momentum in this series. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think Optic, if they get to this point in the tournament, right, they win a match, lose to Toronto, I think they're going to be in a better form. And I expect Miami to take 1 map, but I think we're going to see an AG masterclass. Top 6 for Miami, not a bad placing, but I think the top 4 is the top 4. And Optic will advance to a matchup later on in the day. All right, so let's start with the losers semifinals here. Optic versus New York will be a super fun one. This is going to be an ultimate tilter to whoever loses this matchup. Like, whoever loses is going to make some serious roster changes. And these series that 2 teams have played have been pretty close, but I want to give some stats to you. In the 5 matchups, Optic has a 3-2 advantage over New York. They have won 8 of the 10 hard points, but lost 2 of the 9 searches, and the controls have been close. The problem, I think, for Optic then looking at these stats is that if Optic's S&D is still a little bit iffy and New York's still a very good hardpoint team, this one could be kind of ugly. But we can also throw all the stats out the window. They played at Major 3 and Optic beat them in a Game 5 on that Sunday run. And they played recently online, and New York took it to them in a Game 5. I think this is a Game 5 classic. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think Optic's going to take this one, but it's so close, man. I just don't know how to predict this matchup. It's just the problem with these predictions is I can't predict how people are going to play on Saturday night. Then top 4 is really close. I think Optic just squeak on by one, to be honest. I really want to pick New York, actually. I take that back. I think, thinking about this now, the data is saying, and I should go with the data if I really don't know what to do here, that New York's quality S&D play will be the reason they win this. And if Optic get top 4 at this event and get eliminated on Saturday night, first off, better than some of the past Champs performances, but that's another failure of a season if they get 4th, I think, in their eyes, especially with the last two events going on. I think major changes will come into the Optic camp. I think this Optic team, like, there has not been a better situation for them to make it to a Champs Grand Final. They actually, like, played the right way, major 4 side, and lose to New York and not even get a chance to get one series away will be real tough for them. All right, FaZe versus Toronto. Man, this one is a real classic. It's been fun matchups. FaZe is 2-4 against Toronto, and Toronto's had their number on LAN. FaZe has been pretty good against them online. Toronto did beat them during the last major 4 qualifiers. That was the series with the whatever the hell happened on high-rise control. I think the theme is going to continue. I think FaZe will lose to Toronto in winners finals. I think Scrap has been pretty dominant against draws on LAN. I think Toronto will take another classic game 5 against FaZe in this one. And then we drop down to FaZe versus New York, and this is a real gut check one for FaZe. Are they going to be able to beat New York twice in one event? I actually think they will do it, and I think it's going to be a close game 5 as always with these two teams. And I think FaZe will just squeak on by in the elimination of final here. So now we get to Champs Grand Final on Sunday. It's a best of 9. And the way that, if I remember how the best of 9s work, that the format is as follows. It is 3 hard points, 4 searches, and 2 controls, which I think would generally benefit FaZe. Now, FaZe have been very poor in some of these finals. And if you remember last year in the grand finals, Toronto played great on Saturday night and had a complete egg on Sunday afternoon. And then at the last final that Toronto was in, they played really good and then laid a complete egg against Optic. So it's almost like the case of two teams that in like a final, I just don't know if they've like really can kind of motivate themselves. So with the 4 searches, I think we're going to have a class against these teams. And in my mind, this is going to end up like another one of the rematch when these two teams played at Cold War finals, where I think FaZe will clutch up in that second to last map. We won't get to the last map in the best of 9, but I think it will be a great series, and FaZe will be your grand finalists, your COD champions at the end of the season. This one can honestly go either way, and I really want to say this: between FaZe, New York, Toronto, and Optic, I think all 4 of them have very good cases to win this event. I really just don't think any of the other 4 teams really have a chance. And does it come down to the form of these teams going to this event? What maps and modes have they worked on, and are they able to effectively execute those strategies? It's just hard to predict right now because we haven't seen these teams play in a couple of weeks. And literally all 4 of them have won events this year. So it's not like there's one team coming in the trophy list. All 4 of them have had high moments, and all 4 of them had low moments. So it's really hard to predict which one of them is actually going to execute this one in. All right, so let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you have FaZe? Do you have New York? Do you have Toronto? Do you have Optic? Do you have somebody else? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like if you enjoyed. Subscribe for more. And as always, guys, we'll see you on